What's up guys, I'm Roderick, aka Rodman, and welcome back to another video. So this video is for all my strength players. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the best strength weapon from every single Souls game. If you like retro video gaming, anime, and gameplay videos, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more content just like this. So let's get right into the video. So the best strength weapon in Demon Souls for me is going to be the Dragon Bone Smasher. So if you guys don't know, the Dragon Bone Smasher in Demon Souls is pretty much the equivalent of the Fume Ultra Great Sword in all the other Souls games, except in Demon Souls it's a big clump of iron instead of a big clump of rock. But regardless, it pretty much has the same moveset, the same crazy range. On top of that, +5 is going to be doing some of the highest damage in the game with a 280. It has a B in strength scaling, which is very good for a weapon that has that high of an attack stat. On top of that, it gives you +60 fire resistance, which is very good as well for a weapon that's not even armor, that's just a regular weapon. This thing does an absurd amount of damage. Obviously, since it's a strength-based weapon, it's going to be quite slow, but there are some faster weapons like the crushing axe if you want to look into that. But as far as pure damage, I'm definitely going to be going with the Dragon Bone Smasher. So let's go ahead and move on to Dark Souls 1. So for the best strength weapon in Dark Souls 1, there actually are quite a few good strength weapons here, but what I'm going to be going with is the Demon's Great Axe. This thing starts off with an S in strength scaling, which is absolutely absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Usually you need to imbue your weapon and or use a gem or something to have it getting that high for scaling, but it starts off right off rip with an S in strength scaling. +15, this thing is going to cap out at 285 damage, which is extremely high. A lot of the times you're going to be one-shotting enemies, you're going to be killing bosses in like 3 hits. There is a downside to this weapon though. Like I said before in the previous segment, strength weapons do tend to be very slow, but this one is extremely slow. It's like the Kirk hammer on steroids. So if you don't mind being extremely slow, then this weapon is going to be perfect for you. So let's go ahead and move on to Dark Souls 2. So for the best strength-based weapon in Dark Souls 2, I'm definitely going to be going with the Dark Crypt Black Sword, and the reason is that it pretty much has the highest damage per hit in the game for a weapon. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're going to stomp people in PvP, you're going to stomp people in PvE, and we're not even talking about when you put enchantments on your weapon and you imbue it with different elements. This thing becomes an absolute monster. It has great scaling. It has like a 270 attack rating, which is very high, and it's just overall a complete beefy weapon. It reminds me of or I guess the great sword in eldenring reminds me of this weapon, but personally I believe this weapon is better. It's just utterly ridiculous, and it's not really all that slow, which is crazy. But let's go ahead and move on to Dark Souls 3. So honestly, this is probably the most iconic weapon in all of Souls history, but for the best strength-based weapon in Dark Souls 3, I'm going to go with the Fume Ultra Great Sword. This thing is an absolute behemoth. It is a giant chunk of rock. It has an A in strength scaling, and it has a crazy good moveset. And I think the thing that makes it really the best, because in Dark Souls 3 there's plenty of strength weapons that can do good damage, but I think what sets the Fume Ultra Great Sword apart from the other great swords is its insane reach. It has an insanely crazy reach. and a part of his moveset is a jab attack. So you're going to be killing a lot of people with this thing. It's crazy good. If you're going a strength build, there's really no other weapon I could see you using besides Fugs. But let's go ahead and move on to Bloodborne. So for the best strength weapon in Bloodborne, I am most definitely going to be going with the Whirligig Saw. This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. This is the best weapon in the game. It's ridiculously powerful, to the point where a lot of the community think that you shouldn't even be using this weapon just because it puts the game on easy mode. This weapon is insane. It starts off with the S in strength scaling, which is absolutely crazy. And on top of that, you get an extra 20% damage to beasts because it has serrated damage in its two-handed form. And literally 90% of the monsters you're going to be fighting in Bloodborne are going to be beast type enemies. So essence strength plus like 300 damage plus 20% damage increase. Like what? That's insane. But let's go ahead and move on to Eldenring. This was actually very, very difficult. There's so many good strength weapons in Eldenring, but I think the Great Sword, aka Guts' sword from Berserk, this takes the cake. This thing is an absolute monster. It has the best strength scaling in the game, actually. Like, this thing technically will do the most amount of damage for a pure strength type build. So if you think you're going to be putting all of your points in strength, there should be no other weapon that you should be using. You can also slap other Ashes of War on it, which makes it very good as well. It's not as versatile as some other weapons like Radon's sword or this, you know, the giant hammer, whatever the giant hammer was called. But as far as this damage output, you're definitely going to be going with the Great Sword. And guess what? You can wield 2 of these things at once if your strength is high enough, which is ridiculous. So imagine the crazy damage output, but times 2. Yeah, it's crazy, bro. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you learned something new. If you're going to be using some of these weapons in your builds, let me know in the comments. Ramen out. Peace.